I'm Shauna J. Cerniak, founder of Every Woman Empowered, and alongside are my co-hosts,
Johnny Gallardo, international artist, and Every Woman Empowered's resident artist.
And Neela Janu, certified laughter yoga instructor, founder of Let's Laugh Yig, and happiness ambassador for Every Woman Empowered.
Welcome to
Chit Chat!
I'm very excited to announce our special guest for this episode, the one, the only singer, songwriter, actress, the phenomenal Canadian Jann Arden. Welcome, Jann. So happy to have you on the show.
Hello. So great to see you.
Great to see you too. So we're going to get right into the questions. And I know, Neela, I think you're starting with our first one.
I am. So, Jann, you said in interviews your journey to fame wasn't one big bang. It was a lot of those seemingly insignificant events and your determination. I've heard that philosophy a lot in personal development circles, but I want to know what fueled your determination when you were facing adversities.
It's such a hard question to answer. I really don't know. I think it's just human nature to plod forward. I don't think there's 5 steps to success or 7 things that you need to do to, I just, none of those philosophies really, I didn't really have access to them when I was a younger person. I lived in, and I still live in rural Alberta, but I really think it really just is our natural, instinctive, something in our humanness that we just plod on. And, sometimes we learn from our mistakes and sometimes we don't. Sometimes we repeat the same mistakes over many, many times before it kind of resonates. But I think I really just loved being creative and I loved music. So that in and of itself was enough of a catalyst because I enjoyed doing something and I had no ulterior motive. I didn't have any plans. I didn't want to get anywhere. I didn't want to be famous. I didn't think that someone that looked like me coming from where I came from could ever even consider a musical career. So it literally was one little thing after the other because I didn't aspire to it. I wanted to be a school teacher and that just didn't sort out. I wasn't terribly academic. I think I could have been had I applied myself, but I got tangled up in music for so many years and I just was in bars. And so I don't know if it was even determination. I don't know if I was even determined to do anything. I think I just was literally flying by the seat of my pants, which is, that's life.
Mm-hmm.
Totally. And you continue to fly by the seat of your pants by now being an actress. You have your own TV series. You just finished filming season 3. What made you decide to venture out into acting and to really put yourself out there in your show?
Well, there's a lot of moving parts for sure. I have certainly been approached about television many, many times over the years, but I really wasn't that interested. It was always talk shows or it always had me either going to Toronto or leaving Calgary. And I just didn't want to go. I still don't want to go. So when I was approached by a company called Project 10, a gentleman named Andrew Barnsley, he kind of contacted me through a friend of mine named Leah Gauthier. And he just said, do you have any interest in scripted comedy? And I just was like, I don't know. And it wasn't, I just never considered it before. I just never thought about it. And I'm not an actor, and I was always very worried about being able to memorize lines. I don't even know my own damn songs. Like, I'm just like, what are the words to this again? So, there's lots of things to worry about. But Leah and who became my co-creator, that's why we sort of wrote it in the wheelhouse of, it was sort of a weird version of me. I wasn't like doing Macbeth or something that would be a huge stretch, but it was just this opportunity that got presented. Do you want to try it? Do you want to come up with a story that might work for you? And Leah and I sat at my house for a few days and put together what they call a pitch sheet. She knows all this stuff because she's in television. I was smart enough to know that I needed to get somebody near me and work with someone that knew television, that knew all this, because I knew nothing. So it's always important to delegate. You don't have to pretend you know something you don't know. I'm the first person to go, I have no idea. What does that mean? What does that word mean? Sometimes people will be talking to me and use a word I've never heard before, and I'll literally stop them and say, can you tell me what that word means? Never be embarrassed to ask those kinds of questions. Never be embarrassed to learn, and never think that you're making yourself feel uneducated or unaware.
Right.
That's really important as you make your way through life at any age. So the TV thing, I ask questions on such a regular basis that I'm sure I drive people bonkers. But yeah, it was quite a few people, but I think it was being a certain age too. I don't think I would have been doing this at 40 or even 50. So
Right.
I just turned 59, and I started working on the television show. I had just turned 55. And it took me a year to even decide to do it. I was on tour, and kind of a year after the initial question was asked, that's when Leah came out, and I said, you know, they're still kind of asking me to do this, so maybe we should just, I didn't think it would get made, let's put it that way. And when I said I wanted to stay in Calgary, they're like, that's fine. And I'm like, oh my God, this might actually happen. Because my mom was unwell at the time, and I was looking after her, so I didn't want to leave here. So we still do the show here. It's all shot in and around, very close to where I live, actually.
Wow. And a
That's
great
so
show
exciting.
it is. And a great
Yeah,
show
Yeah,
it
it
is.
is.
It's
Yeah.
really fun. It's a lot of fun to do. We have a lot of laughs.
Good for you.
It's so exciting that you've been able to do that and they were able to adapt around you too. My question for you is, I mean, like you do so many things. You're a singer, you're a writer, you're a comedian, you're an activist, you're a Canadian icon. And okay, I'm trying not to gush too much here. What is something that you would love to do that you haven't done yet, and why? Like I watched you do some crazy stuff with Rick Mercer. So
Yeah. I don't know. I suppose I'll probably cross that bridge when I get to it. I'm really interested in history and archaeology.
Ooh.
I love all that kind of stuff. I think I'll probably keep doing what I'm doing. Maybe I hope to eke out another 5 or 6 years, as long as I'm singing well. But yeah, I'd love to. I'd love to just go for a month somewhere in Norway and be on a dig and just learn and be kind of participate in something like that, and get up really early in the morning and take your little trowel and your brush and your knee pads and your ball cap and just go and or take a metal detector and wander around the UK for 6 months. So things like that really interest me. I know that sounds really kind of nutty, but
No.
I really do love history, and I love archaeology, and I
Very
love
cool.
ancestry, and I'd love to find out more about where my descendants come from. I know a little bit. I know a fair amount, but it'd be really great to do more things like that.
Have you gone to the Badlands much?
I've been to the Badlands a few times. I think I'm more interested in the human epoch, kind of the journey of humanity, and like artifacts of, I mean, how great would it be to go to Egypt, or
China,
just
to go see the terracotta
anything
warriors.
like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
just to be a tourist. It'd be nice to travel a little bit more too. I think obviously we're going to get there. It's just
Yes.
going to take time. In the big scheme of things, 15 months isn't even a drop of the bucket, So I think our particular version of our society, we're a little bit spoiled. We don't like it if we only have 2 bars. So you have to understand that a pandemic given to us, that we kind of have been spoiled. And I don't mean that in a mean way. It's just that it's kind of been smooth sailing the last 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
And, our parents talked about the Second World War, certainly, and they talked about depressions. My grandparents, we had these stories, but they were so kind of distant.
Yes.
That when this was kind of upon us, which is not the end of the world, I think it's the beginning of a new world. A lot of people didn't deal with it well, but we also saw a huge outpouring of community and how people treated each other. But yeah, final answer, I'd love to go on a dig somewhere, Newfoundland, the Queen Charlotte Islands, you know, and just learn and do things like that. I find that really interesting.
That's so exciting. I think it's always important to know a little bit of our own history too, right?
Yeah.
So
For sure.
during COVID, you did these wonderful walks with MIDI, and a lot of us followed along and listened. And what I love about you is you're so candid. And so you've had lots of discussions over the years, whether it was about your parents and Alzheimer's and what you went through there. One, I want to say thank you for doing that, because that opens the doors for a lot of great stuff to working, because I used to work with Alzheimer's. The other part of that is, obviously, you have a very frank way of speaking. Have you always been like this, or is this something that's this trait has developed over time?
I don't think I've changed that much over the years. I think I was always one of those kids. I remember my mom saying to me, I'd go into a room and there'd be a broken lamp, and I'd say, who did this? And you'd say, I did. And she said it kind of took the steam out of me being mad at you. You know, I think it's easier to be kind of outraged when you've got three kids looking at you all saying, I didn't do it, I didn't do it, I didn't do it. She said, your little face, you would just go, I did. And she said, well, okay, well, where do I go from there? So I think I learned pretty early on that just telling the truth and kind of being authentic to yourself is probably the easiest way to make your way through your life. And it was actually my mom who always, you know, and the whole be yourself thing, that was my mom. She told me that. And I actually just plagiarized her and ended up putting that in the song. But it was just like, always be yourself, like in any situation, whatever you're doing, just be who you are. And what I learned, you know, in my 30s and my 40s, and certainly in this decade, is that, you know, you can monetize being yourself, because that's, the arts depends upon your point of view, your perspective, your particular viewpoint of things, because talent really is an obsolete thing. Unless you're Mozart, the rest of us are kind of like, you know, there's some things, there's singers that are undeniable, but all you have to do is turn on YouTube or look on TikTok and the things that are getting, you know, 150 million likes and things like that. It has nothing to do with the quality of a talent. There's something very, there's something that has nothing to do with that. So those things are all very short things. They're very, they're here and gone. And I think real creative things, a painting that you appreciate, or music that sticks with you your whole life, that you tie memories around, those things have, there's more to it than just that. If you're monetizing things with a like button, that's kind of an unfortunate way to make your way through life. So yeah, it's just being yourself, I think, is really important. So I try and be authentic for my own well-being, for my own mental health, in social media especially. And I talk about this a lot. If you're going to curate something, if you're going to use social media, I know I'm not a huge fan of Facebook. My office does my Facebook page for the most part. I mean, I don't, once in a while I'll write a blog on there, and I will take the dog for a walk and I'll go live on Facebook, but that's about the extent of it. I don't comment or things like that. But Instagram, for instance, I really try and curate something that's real. I don't take 300 pictures of myself to look good. I mean, as you can see right here, I just came in from outside. I'm planting little seedlings, and I've got another 2 weeks before I can plant my garden here in Alberta. It's just like it was -6 when I got up this morning. So yeah, you have to be mindful of what you show people.
Right.
And I think young women and men, you know, they feel like in order for me to have any validation, I have to have people hitting that heart button and liking what I'm putting out there. And they'll agonize over it. And I just never have. But I also have the advantage of being my age. And I wasn't 18 years old when social media happened. I mean, my God, I remember my friend Teresa and we were at a bar, and I remember peeing in a garbage can because there was a huge lineup in front of the girls' bathroom, and we were drinking beer, And so we went out behind the bar and we both peed in this garbage can. But can you imagine, fast forward, if that had been 5 people filming me peeing in a garbage can,
Yeah.
the optics on it would have been a little more dire than really the sentiment that Teresa and I went into peeing in the garbage can, which wasn't meant to be mean, or we weren't trying to make someone's job hard. We just weren't thinking.
Right.
So show people, kind of who you are,
Right.
and let the chips fall where they may. I've never found anything appealing about attracting the masses. That just doesn't, that seems like the lowest common denominator to me. I know my fans are very specific and they have followed me along for, 30 years. But they know who I am. And because I've made sure that I've included them and that I haven't had to create some kind of alter ego to stand up there and talk about my parents or my failings or anything like that. So that's important.
It is.
Well,
It's very
speaking of
important.
that, I mean, I find that it is very empowering when people can just be who they are and there's no facade, there's no mask on them. They're just genuine. And I think that's where we really start to learn, is when people show their vulnerability, show their true self. You no longer drink, and you were on your journey you decided to quit drinking. What was that turning point for you that you said, okay, enough is enough? And during your journey of recovery, what have you discovered about yourself now that kind of has enlightened you?
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, I'm so glad I don't drink anymore. I don't know why it took me so long. It took me as long as it took me. I tried many times in my life to stop and was unsuccessful. It had nothing to do with being in the entertainment business. If I had been a dentist, a teacher, a plumber, a salesperson, if I had worked in nursing, I would have had a drinking problem. It is my genetic makeup. It's what I saw growing up as a kid. And I vowed, as a young woman, I'm like, I never want to be like my dad. My dad was a rough guy. He was an alcoholic for my formative years, certainly. I mean, the man, God love him, he did quit drinking. He was sober, oh gosh, the last 20 years of his life.
Good for him.
Yeah. He was grumpy still and obstinate, and he felt like life wasn't any fun, and he felt very hard done by, and he was still a hard guy to figure out. I never really knew him very well, but anyway, so I saw that and I thought, I'm never going to be like that. Well, I turned out exactly like that. I was very careful about it. I drank mostly by myself. And I always say to people, if you've ever looked in the mirror on any given morning and said, I'm drinking too much, you're drinking too much. So there's signs along the way that we all ignore. You have that bender where you have 6 glasses of wine at a dinner party and you don't have a good sleep. You wake up at 3:30 in the morning, you look at the mirror the next day and you go, I'm drinking too much. 3 days later, it's happening again. And then you feel okay. You have that recovery period. It's happening again. So that's kind of how I staggered through, 25 years easily of, wow. No, but I didn't drink for 2 days, or I didn't drink for 4 days, or I haven't drank for 2 weeks. So my mind was always very busy trying to, justify, exactly. That's the word. And fool me into thinking everything was okay. The stopping point for me was my mom's Alzheimer's. Absolutely. I mean, I was easily drinking, a couple of bottles of wine. I would look after her and I would finally get her off to bed and get her sorted out. And then I just would sit and, the one bottle of wine would go down and then I'd be opening another one. And I would say to myself, oh, you're going to regret this. Oh, it's okay. You're in the moment. And I've always kind of had heart issues. I don't have heart disease or anything like that, but my heart gets mad at me. And drinking especially is very hard on your cardiovascular system. It's hard on your lungs. People always think it's your liver cleaning out alcohol all the time, but all your organs share the load. Your liver does as much as it can, but your lungs, inhaling and exhaling, they try and get rid of as much as they can too. So they're cleaning for us all the time. That's why when you walk into a 22-year-old guy's bedroom after a bender and you go in there and you're like, wow, this smells like a brewery. Well, it's exactly that. Your lungs have been working so hard to clean that out and to get rid of it. Anyway, I ended up having to go to the hospital. I was having heart stuff. It was after a big bender. And a woman named Nancy Clark, she was a nurse. She if she knew who I was, she didn't let on, because I was under my last name when I was there. Arden's my middle name, so I use Arden to sing, but Richards is my last name. And she was kind of looking at my chart, and she just said, she asked about my drinking, and I said I drink too much, and she said, your heart doesn't like it, Jann. She said, it doesn't like it, and it's trying to tell you. And she looked at my chart. She said, you've done this a few times before. And I had lost count. I'd probably been hospitalized 10 times, 12 times. Wow. Like I was losing count. It was the same thing all the time. It affected my left ventricle. And that was it. I thought, between my mom being sick and where I was, I just thought something happened in my mind. I don't know. It was time. I just thought, it was time. I can't do it anymore. But the thing I always say to people too is I never gave up. I never, I would fall back on it. I'd be sober for, 3 weeks, and I'd fall back and, back into my old habits again, but I never gave up on myself. So I just was waiting for the right opportunity. So I'm just putting my dog up on the couch. Oh, come here, Mitty. And that's, you just can't, there.
Oh.
Oh my goodness, she is so cute.
Look at that tongue. Oh my goodness, he's adorable.
She's been outside. So but you'll find your moment, and you have to be easy on yourself too. But I'd be dead by now for sure. I've been sober coming up 5 years. And,
congratulations.
Thank you. It's the best thing I ever did. I'm much more myself. The surprising thing that you were saying, Shauna, is that I'm far less inhibited sober than I was drunk. And you'd think it was
the other way
around. It would be the opposite.
Yeah.
It wasn't. But
it's free.
Everyone comes to it in their own time. And I hope people do catch themselves. And I was very verbal about it. I told my friends, I'm not drinking anymore. I need your help. I need your support.
And putting it out there,
I wasn't quite about it. I've never done a 12-step program or anything like that, but everyone's different, no, right. I just didn't, but I would always, whatever you need to do, but I did lean a lot on my friends.
You had some good support.
I had lots of support.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, it was gone from I don't think about it. I have a wine room in my house. There's like 400 bottles of wine down there. I never think about it. I will never drink again, but I'm always on guard. I'm never cured.
Exactly.
I'm never.
You're one step away.
I would even at 85, I'm not going to be, I'm 85. I might as well have a little bit of sherry. I know that it would turn into a fucking nightmare.
Yeah.
I know I'd be an 85-year-old drunk person.
Right. And
probably falling, and someone would have to, why did you do that? You're 85. Why would you do that? I'm like, I don't know. I thought I could.
Yeah. Why are you peeing in the garbage can,
Why
Jann?
again? Why did you pee in your garbage can? I don't know.
Seemed like a good idea.
Yeah.
It was there.
I think that just goes to show, like, it's going to take whatever it's going to take for people to have that moment of clarity. And like you said, you were in the hospital 10 times. Like, you could have. Yeah.
And I thought, it's not drinking. It's not drinking.
Right.
It's amazing what your mind does. And I think of myself as a somewhat intelligent person, but there is no intelligence with alcohol, especially when I'm dealing with a genetic disposition to how my mind, my body, my cells process alcohol, how it changes my thinking. It changes me instantly. I'm not myself. I almost call it like liquid mysticism or something. And I do have a lot of regrets. I know a lot of people will talk about, oh, no regrets in life. I have hundreds of regrets. There are things I wish I could change that I can't. And I'm just not that cavalier. I am not that person. There's things I regret, but they help me. I can put them in little jars and set them on shelves in my consciousness somewhere. And they are reminders. They're helpful reminders. They don't hurt me and they don't sting me anymore. Yeah, I shake my head and go, oh, what, why? But good things do come out of bad things. And I don't think I would have even gone into music. And I've written about this a lot. I've talked about it a lot. Because of my dad's alcoholism, I went into music. And had he not been an alcoholic, I would never have gone into my parents' basement to get away from him, where all the records were, the record player. There was an old guitar in the corner. I would never have gone down there. I was really outdoorsy. We had horses. I loved being outside, but I wanted to avoid him and somehow kind of stay close to my mom at the same time. And so I ended up downstairs listening to records and just found out immediately how much I loved listening to music. And then when I picked up the guitar, all bets were off. I didn't even know how to tune a guitar, but I figured it out. And I still don't read music. I don't read music at all. I have no concept. I just play by ear. And and I started writing songs right away.
Wow.
Making up songs. So it's one of those things. Like, how do you figure out how life works? Is it deliberate? Is it random?
Yeah.
It's anybody's guess.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And you definitely did figure it out.
Well, I'm still figuring it out.
Yeah.
You know, I sometimes I think I know about music and then I don't know anything about it at all. I'm absolutely in learning mode all the time. And as we all are, I mean, I'm looking at 3 women that I know just from your accomplishments and what you're doing in your lives, that we're all on this learning mode. And what a great, what a great gear to have yourself in, to be supportive of not only other human beings, but other women especially. You know, I always found coming up in music, the people that were hardest on me were other women. And, you know, people were always so surprised by that part of, you know, me talking about the early days. And I'm like, oh, no, man, I never had trouble with them. It was the women that always kind of put me through the gears. And that dialogue has changed a lot over the last 15 years for sure. I really see more camaraderie. And I think women have really banded together. I think the About Time and the Me Too movements both kind of accelerated that we realized how many shared experiences that we had in the workplace, in life, in the dating world, in growing up with dysfunctional families. I think we really realized that we were much better together and supporting each other than we were apart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Get rid of that crabs in the bucket mentality.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
you've said you really felt more confident with age. You even said you were doing this show now because you have that confidence about you. And that's a wonderful thing. And I've heard that from others as well. And how do you think we move that needle so that women are reaching that level of confidence sooner? Is it a lot of having that right support? What are some of those things you think?
You're probably not going to like my answer.
Let's hear it.
I think it's just time.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree.
As much as I would love to say, you can grab a 21-year-old human being, female, male, by the shoulders and look at them and say, listen, and we all had that. We all had that in our lives. We had
Of course we
parents
did.
trying to steer us. We had grandparents trying to steer us. We had an older, more mature aunt trying to steer us. We had a friend of the family trying to steer us. We were admonished. We were told. We were reprimanded.
And we didn't listen.
I think it's time. And I think there's some young people that are much more afraid of being in trouble. There's kind of that gift of fear, and they do just go straight and narrow. Some people call them nerds or, you know, geeks or or whatever. But I think people are understanding how important education is, and they don't want to be 30 years old living in their parents' basement. For the most part,
No.
I don't think they do. But yeah, I think time. But when I wrote the last book, If I Knew Then, in my heart of hearts, I was hoping that there would be some shard of what I was saying about getting older that I wish I had known, at 25, 35, 45.
Mhm.
And I hope, but I get lots of letters from younger women of all ages saying, I hear it. I thank you for writing it. I'm getting it. I'm glad that I can kind of turn this around. And so I've really been, that's what I was hoping for. So that's been really great.
Oh, thank you for that. It's kind of,
I know, sorry.
no, it's kind of
She's around
reassuring.
two old folks, so she gets that all the time.
Reassuring in a way that, it
But
just
you're
does
okay.
take time.
Yeah, but you're okay too. And there's a lot of old souls out there, as we
Mhm.
know. I mean, I know some women that I'm like, wow, this is your first trip around the block. I know that. And there's I'll meet a 9-year-old and I'm like, hallelujah. This kid's been here a lot more times than I have. So
Yeah.
everybody's at different levels.
Absolutely.
Failing is important.
Mhm.
It's super important. It's as valuable as succeeding. But our society isn't geared towards that way of thinking.
Mhm.
Had I not failed as much as I did, I would never have gotten anywhere. Because I've never learned ever from getting it right. But it is my failures that have made me a better writer, made me a better friend, a better daughter. I failed a lot with my mom. Failed a lot and got it wrong for years. And then I got it right. Just one day I started getting it right. And I just went, oh, okay. I started learning and started on a different path. And it's hard being a person.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
Yeah, this is true.
Mm.
It's called
Yep.
adulting and it sucks.
So Jann, my last question for you is a fun one. So my Auntie Anna, shout out, she's seen you in concert 3 times, and she told me at one of your first concerts, you joke that other musicians sell records, memorabilia, and you sell panties in the lobby because you don't have anything else. So she thought that was hilarious.
Oh, that
and she
sounds
wants
like
to
something
know,
I'd say.
have you progressed to selling records and stopped selling panties?
You can tell her that, I think we're selling scented candles these days. So I've really come a long way. I kind of remember saying things like that. Yeah, I don't even know what we sell in the lobby. Probably t-shirts. I'm gonna have to go out there one of these days and look at stuff.
Big Baba panties.
And maybe we can pitch them as a tent.
Yeah, exactly.
Kitty has a lot of blankets. She hates it when I do this stuff because I'm on the computer. I have a few more things left today and then I should be done like at 1:30 or something, but it's yeah, she gets it. She understands it. The computer comes out and she's just like, oh, I hear this quite a bit.
She knows.
Yeah. I have a cat that does not like it every time I take pictures and videos and put it on TikTok. It's like, come on, like,
yeah,
I'm laying here. It's not that great, know? So I get it.
No, they know. They absolutely know.
Yes. Well, Jann, I got to say it was wonderful talking to you today. And thank you for being so candid with us and sharing your story. We just, you've been like I said, you got 3 fangirls here. We adore you.
Well, it's very kind.
We love that you are genuine. And I think that is, you're authentic. And I think that's the best quality that you have. So thank you.
Well, thanks for all you're doing. I really appreciate you reaching out to me and figuring out to make this work. And I really think it's important to cheer people on and to make time and do things like this. I've had lots of help along the way. I met lots of incredible people on the way. So thanks for all you guys are doing, and, you know, being
Thanks, Jen.
creative and being entrepreneurial and, you know, trying things no matter what the outcome is. I know it's not easy. This climate has made it more difficult, but I think everyone has learned, yeah, I can do this.
Yeah. Sometimes
Absolutely.
you just gotta wing it and
Yep.
see what happens.
And it's cumulative. It really is seemingly insignificant moments. It's not a big bang. Oh, today this happened. It's like you look like 6 months behind you and you're like, wow, we've really come a long way. It's like I always liken it to filling a swimming pool. Like it takes a long time to fill a damn swimming pool.
Yep.
But there's something happening, but you don't always see it. Like if you go out the next morning, you're like, oh my God, I think it's up like 4 inches. Something happened. My favorite part of the garden is going out there every single day and watching stuff growing. I'm like, oh my God, I think that squash grew like 6 inches last night. It's bizarre.
Yeah.
That's what she said.
It's the time lapse, right? It's the time lapse. Anyway, look after yourselves, you guys. And,
Thanks, Jen.
Thank
so
you
much,
so
Jen.
much.
And I will see you out there. The best
Absolutely.
is yet to come.
Absolutely. Have the best day. Thanks, Jen. You take care.
Enjoy
All
your
the best.
summer.
Yes.
Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye.